everyone. My name is Zinat Islam, and I'm the Relations Manager Academia Network at Yunus Center. Welcome to Day 3 of 2020 Social Business Academia Conference. For the past 2 days, we have had many sessions packed with exciting conversations, paper presentations, and today we have a discussion session, our Plenary 3, on the impact of microcredit program of Gameen America. And for that, we have our speaker today, Ms. Andrea Jung, who's the President and CEO of Gameen America. And moderating the session today is our academic advisor, Professor Jahangir Alam Chaudhry, Department of Finance, Executive Director, Center for Microfinance and Development, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. So I give the floor to Professor Jahangir to commence the session. Professor Jahangir. Professor Jahangir, your microphone is muted. Can you please turn it on?
Thank you, Jinat. Thank you, Jinat. I'm going to start with an introductory note before going to our speaker and the discussion. When Professor Yunus did his microcredit experiment in a village called Jobra near the University of Chittagong in Bangladesh, which he used to work for, he offered himself as a guarantor for a loan of only $27 from a local bank for 42 women, as these women didn't have enough assets to provide with as collaterals. Later on, when he innovated the collateral fee installment-based small loans for poor people, especially women, the whole world, especially economists, bankers, and policymakers, didn't believe him. They couldn't believe that poor people, especially women, without any tangible assets, could be given loans without collaterals. This was a big surprise for them, and it was a miracle to them as well. They were surprised to see that Professor Yunus solved the problems of moral hazard and adverse selection related to loans given to poor people without collaterals. These two problems arise from information asymmetry. Professor Yunus solved these problems through the joint liability-based group lending technique and interpersonal relationships among members within the group and the relationship between loan officers and the borrowers. And finally, Professor Yunus established the Nobel Peace Prize-winning organization Gameen Bank in 1983. Following its success, the Gameen model has been replicated all over the world. Through the innovation of microcredit, Professor Yunus has not only alleviated the poverty of millions, he has also created employment directly and indirectly for millions all over the world. Poverty is one of the main causes of unrest and armed conflicts all over the world. By reducing the poverty of millions, he has contributed to the establishment of peace in many countries. Ladies and gentlemen, with this introductory note, I welcome all of you to this plenary session on the impacts of the microcredit program of Gameen America. Gameen America is also a replication of Gameen Bank in Europe, and good morning in the Americas, and Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum means peace be upon you. I'm Mohammad Jahangir Alam Chaudhry. I'm a professor in the Department of Finance and the Executive Director of the Center for Microfinance and Development at the University of Dhaka. The main objective of this session is to allow the conference participants to know about how Gameen America is contributing to the poverty reduction of the marginalized people, especially women, in the different cities in the United States. I'm delighted to inform you that we have a distinguished panel of speakers today with us in the session. Ms. Andrea Jung is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Gameen America. She is our main speaker today. We have also 4 distinguished speakers discussing with us. Ms. Saskia Bussen, sorry if I do not pronounce your name properly. Please accept my apologies. So is a co-founder and the CEO of Gameen Yunus Social Business. We have Mr. Abdul Hai Khan, he's the Managing Director of Gameen Trust. We have Suresh Krishna, is a co-founder and the CEO of Yunus Social Business Fund and Yunus Social Business India Initiatives. And Mr. Raymond Serios, he is an Assistant Director for Administration and Special Projects of Negros Women for Tomorrow Foundation in the Philippines. I thank all of you for accepting our invitation to join us in this session. We are honored to have all of you. I'm also delighted to inform you that the Honorable Nobel Laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus is going to join us in this session later on. Let's start our discussion. Ms. Jung, sorry. Welcome to again to this session, and and we are really happy to have you in this session. So I would like to start
Thank
with asking you, how are you?
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks, Professor Jahangir, for having me, and all my friends here on the panel. I'm fine. I'm tired because the last 3 nights have been quite nail-biting, as we say, with the presidential election here in the United States. So I think and hope we may have a new president by the end of tonight in the United States, but it has certainly been a anxiety-inducing period for us watching this presidential election. It's been like no other.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving us a really good news. I was actually thinking about asking you this question, that what was the latest news from, from the United States. Happy to know that.
Former Vice President Joe Biden just took over the lead in Pennsylvania.
That's great.
Which was a huge impact because there are 20 electoral votes. It's if he continues to hold this lead, he'll win the presidential election.
What about Georgia? Is he still leading?
Yes, by 1,000 votes.
Yeah. I was watching that actually.
A tiny mark.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to our discussion. You are the CEO of Gameen America since its inception in 2008. Could you please tell us the brief history of the establishment of Gameen America?
Yes, actually I joined in 2014, so I have been with Gameen America for nearly 7 years, but I can go back to 2008 and give everybody the incredible history of the journey of Gameen America. So Professor Yunus was extremely prescient, as always, in forming Gameen America in 2008. I think it's relevant because we're all facing 2020 and this extraordinarily impactful pandemic that none of us predicted. But if we go back to 2008, while there wasn't a health element, it was the last global economic crisis. And in the United States, as well as all over the world, credit was being pulled back. So if it was difficult to get a loan as a woman or a low-income person in poverty, if you were an entrepreneur, in the 2008 and 2009 global economic crisis, all of the formal traditional financial institutions pulled back even more. So it became impossible to have access to capital. And this is exactly when Professor Yunus and others believed that people need the money the most. And I think that has relevance to 2020 and this global pandemic, because it was an amplification and a spotlight on the disadvantage of access to capital and credit and banking here in the United States. Many people think that microcredit is an extraordinary opportunity and poverty alleviation tool in the developing world. Certainly, the renowned impact and success of the Gameen Bank, but others in Bangladesh, India, Africa, but there was a tremendous amount of skepticism that it would be a very powerful poverty alleviation tool in the United States. And I think Gameen America has proved that that is true. It started in Queens, New York. Nobody knew Gameen, nobody in the marketplace. But what was true is that there were millions and millions of people in poverty. Even in the richest nation and in the richest city, the income inequality really exacerbated by the global financial crisis in 2008 really shed a spotlight on the fact that there was not fair access to capital for women in particular, for low-income minorities in the United States who wanted to be entrepreneurs. And the only option for them really was usury rate payday lending loans. So this was not an affordable way to get capital. So the Gameen America program started off in Jackson Heights, Queens, and against a lot of skepticism. Today, 12 years later, as we end 2020, the organization has given out more than $1.7 billion of loan capital to almost 135,000 women and their families to really help them with their entrepreneurial businesses. The repayment rate has been well over 99%, and we are now operating in 15 cities with 23 locations, and soon to be 28 locations as soon as we open several more, which I can talk about in 2021. It's been an extraordinary proof point that giving women access to capital, women entrepreneurs, from low-income communities, from New York all the way to California and many, many cities in between, has been an equal poverty alleviation tool right here in the United States. And that is something that all of us are very proud of, thanks to Professor Yunus's great vision.
Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing with us the history of the establishment of Gameen America. And we are really grateful to you as well as to Professor Yunus that to prove that microcredit works in a developed country like America. Because before we had like the understanding that it is a tool for poverty alleviation in developing world, where the population density is very high, and there are a lot of poor people are there. So it was the understanding. Now you have proved that no, it works also in a developed country like the United States. So now I would like to focus on some private issues. I would like to ask you a few private questions. So we know that you were the chief executive officer as well as chairman of Avon Products, and I'm sure all the ladies know familiar with Avon Products. Though I'm not. So you were the CEO from 2001 to 2012. And you were honored as one of the most powerful women in the world by organizations like Fortune and Forbes. And really very, very proud of you that you are part of, our government family now. So now my question is that, okay, how did you meet Professor Yunus, and what motivated you to leave the corporate world and join Gameen America?
The very first time I met Professor Muhammad Yunus was in New York at an event that was hosted by Tina Brown then, and he spoke, and I was a student and a fan of Microcredit and the Gameen Bank. I had read all of his books, but I had not had the chance to meet him, and I was truly inspired by not only the success of Microcredit, but obviously the vision that he had for social business. And as someone who had spent a lot of my time in business, in the for-profit sector, but really truly understanding the role of business leaders to solve societal issues, the focus and the vision of social business to me was hugely inspiring. So a few years later, when I retired from Avon in 2013, in the fall, I had actually not really known about Gameen America. I knew, of course, about the Gameen Bank, but it was a best kept secret, even though it was just a few miles away from where I lived in my office in New York. And I had the chance to fly to Atlanta, Georgia, and meet Professor Yunus and talk about the opportunity of joining and running Gameen America. And we really had a great discussion over a wonderful Chinese lunch. It continues to be a cuisine that the two of us enjoy together everywhere we go. We find a great Chinese restaurant. But we talked about not only the great success that Gameen America had had since 2008, but also his vision for the future and some of the things that really needed to be changed and put in place, because while all the replica programs have the same structural model as the Gameen Bank, there are unique things about America, just as there are in every replica program, unique rules, regulations, requirements to lend. They are different by state. California is different than New York. And so we talked a lot about what it would take to really scale Gameen America. And it was, I guess, just a dream the two of us had in 2013. So I joined in the beginning of 2014, and it's been just an extraordinary, extraordinary privilege to work alongside Professor Yunus to scale the organization. I think when I got to Gameen America, we had given out $100 million of loan capital. It was a milestone. But today, I guess I said it's 1.7 billion. The scale has been extraordinary over the last 6.5 years. We had raised $6 million, I think, that year in terms of philanthropy. This year, we'll raise close to $60 million in terms of philanthropic support to Gameen America. So the program has grown tenfold. It's expanded everywhere. And it really has been, I think, due to two things. One is the extraordinary focus on keeping everything about Gameen that is special intact. We never lose sight. It is no different when you go to our center meetings or when you go to, our branches than it is, in the branches that I visited in Dhaka a couple years ago. What are different though is that we have really evolved our technology. We certainly have had to pivot during the pandemic, which I can talk about. We do have different regulations, our loan size, our interest rates, there are unique things. And but most importantly, I think we've begun to scale the technology and the talent to be able to come very national. And the United States is a set of states. Every state is different. When we are operating in North Carolina, it's different to operate there than it is necessarily in Oakland, California. But one thing is true about Gameen, and I have learned that, and that is that, women have the same optimistic belief that they can be entrepreneurs. If you give them capital, they can do anything and they can change their lives. It is what I had seen in my previous career. You asked me the question, from Avon to Gameen, is it completely different? Many people ask me that. And I would say that, the organizations are different on the one hand, but what is very similar is that I've always had a passion for empowering women, for seeing that, they can in fact earn their own income, have a sense of self-confidence, be entrepreneurs. And that's true in every single country that I've ever been in Gameen, as well as in my previous career. So that is one thing, one truth, is that when a woman earns $1 and is given a chance, she is able to change the lives of her family, the education, the health, and society. I think that's been proven certainly by Professor Yunus in all of his work, but we see it in Gameen America every single day.
Thank you for sharing your personal story with us, and we are happy that you left corporate world and joined Gameen America, and contributing to the betterment of poor people, especially women in the United States of America, and giving women a voice. And with respect to economic point of view, you are empowering them. It's a really amazing thing to know about it. Okay, so just by the way, I would like to know your academic background. What was your academic background?
So my academic background is I graduated with a bachelor's degree from Princeton University in New Jersey. And my academic major was English. I had the desire to be a journalist, and life took a little bit of a different turn, but that was my desire. When I grew up, there were no women in business. You often look at role models, and as a Chinese American, as an Asian woman, where there were no women, never mind Asian women, at the top of corporate leadership. So one of my role models was Connie Chung, who's a newscaster, a broadcaster. She, you see your role models when you're younger that look like you. And so I had thought perhaps I could make it to the top in broadcast journalism or in, newspaper journalism. So I pursued a career in English, and things went in a different direction. And I was very fortunate, but I think I was the third CEO of a public company. And so there were, and I can say this because so many of us can relate to this, but there were no women at that time and no Asians represented, and we still have a long way to go. But it was, I think, a privilege to kind of break through that ceiling.
It is great to know that. So interesting thing is, from economics to finance, it's an amazing story. That
yes, well,
and then you wanted to be a journalist.
I wanted to be a journalist. I did well in my economics courses, but I certainly never thought I would be an American banker to the poor. But here I am.
Good to know that. Okay, so we know that Gameen America is an application of Gameen Bank. So you follow the Gameen Bank's model, and you know that in Gameen Bank. Okay, before that, I would like to say that we are delighted to announce that Professor Yunus has just joined us, and he's listening to us. And we will request him to give some comments at the end of our discussion, some concluding comments about Gameen America's impact as well as other issues. So thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
So you said you were replicating Gameen Bank's model, and in Gameen Bank's model, the main core thing is that group-based lending. So you have like a group of 5 women or 5 individuals, and loans are given to this group group, these individuals in the group, and they have like a joint liability system. So I would like to know whether do you follow the same system, same model in Gameen America or not? And could you please tell us about it?
We follow the exact same system, Professor. We have the group lending model. We have groups of 5, and we call them unity payments, but they support each other. And it has been particularly important, certainly during a crisis, during the pandemic. Today, we have our center meetings. They are all on Zoom like this. At Gameen America, we have 2,500 Zoom meetings every single week with about 30, so 6 or more groups on at a time, forming a center. I think Professor Yunus and Hakan have joined our virtual center meetings in the United States to get a flavor. But it's really, truly amazing. We have over 90% attendance because they, if it's 7 o'clock in the morning in February of this year, they were meeting in somebody's home in the living room. That is no longer possible because of social distancing, because of the pandemic. So it has to be virtual. So we have everybody attends a Zoom meeting. In the beginning, you can imagine it was chaotic. That's the word I would use. Our members had never attended. They didn't have passcodes. They didn't understand how to put the mute button on. Children were crying in the background. So the first few I attended was just chaos, but it's amazing. I'm so proud of our members. Again, we've been doing this since April 1st. So, it's November now. And over the last many months, it is inspiring because the connection, everybody's in isolation, but the connection they have. Oh, Saskia, it's so good to see you. Seeing them in person on these Zoom videos keeps the real magic of Gameen alive, even though they can't be together, whether it's in someone's basement or living room or place of business. And so we have managed to transform the entire social capital, which is the alchemy of Gameen, on a virtual video basis. So the center meetings happen at exactly the same time. They're just as effective, they're very powerful, and they get to be with each other and share anxiety, share the loss. We just lost another member, unfortunately, in our Boyle Heights branch in California last night. So it continues, unfortunately.
Anja, do you follow this joint liability system within the group?
With the group, so yes, we do. Gameen America, our members cannot within a group. They're all individual loans, but if the group does not pay or doesn't have a perfect payment record, it does hold the whole group back. So there are unity payments. So the structural Gameen America model of the lending program and the group model is exactly the same. It's the same.
Happy to know that, because many Gameen applications started with this joint liability system and group lending system, but later on they abandoned this joint liability system due to the competition and many other reasons. But happy to know that you are also still following and the same Gameen model and joint liability system. Okay, just
Gameen America stays very true to the model. I think that Professor Yunus and Mr. Hakan would attest. They have been, they've been with our practitioners long enough over these 12 years to see enough of the model, both virtually now, but also before. And in any city you go to, as I said, from California, Texas to New York, the model is remarkably powerful, but it is the same one.
Yeah, just for a point of clarification about the joint liability. When you say joint liability, there was never in Gameen Bank that if I don't pay, somebody in the group has to pay, or collectively they have to pay. That never existed. We never had that. When we say joint liability, the group, in the eyes of the bank, the group credit standing goes lower because you're not performing well. That's all, as a group. Not liability that I can't pay, so somebody else has to pay. It never existed in Gameen Bank. It doesn't exist in Gameen America either.
Yeah, I just that is important clarification. If I don't pay, somebody else is not forced. It's not there. We don't say if you don't pay, you're going to leave the program. If you don't pay for your colleague in the group, that's not how we work. But the whole group has an accountability. That's the same.
Sure.
Yeah. Good to know. Thank you, sir, for your clarification. Okay, so you have like the products that usually we have in Gameen system, and you also do the same lending and same technology that you have in America as well. So now I would like to go to our discussion to know their experiences from different projects and different countries.
Can I add one more point before we leave, Andrea? About the application of technology, how you are using during the pandemic period, it became very important for you. I think they would be very happy to hear that. Many of the practitioners are here.
So the thing I would say is the following. I think that it's really very important to fix the roof while the sun is shining. And the reason that Gameen America has done so well during the pandemic, because none of us predicted that this would happen, is that years ago, we began a very, very aggressive and innovative march towards digitizing the entire lending program. So we had some great partners who helped us, Apple, MasterCard, Citibank, really move to a cloud-based technology so that every aspect of the program could be virtual and digital. When I joined Gameen America in 2014 and I went to a center meeting, our members still were using passbooks and they gave us cash for their repayments. Very quickly after that, as we began to scale, and we had some issues with some of our center managers being accosted and the money was stolen from them as they were going across the street to the bank to deposit it, to deposit the members' repayments. So we said we have to go cashless and paperless, and we gave ourselves 24 months. And it was a long and important process. So we changed our loan system to a program called Mambu that is a German software, but it is a cloud-based where we could have every single center manager using iPads. Every member does every single aspect of their Gameen with a cell phone. They get a text receipt when they've repaid. There's no cash that's touched at Gameen America. There's no paper anymore at Gameen America. Every member has a card. It looks like a debit card, and it is a Gameen card, and the loan can be distributed onto the card directly from the central bank. So before the pandemic, in February, I might be doing a meeting in person at the branch, talking to Saskia about the next $5,000 loan she would get. What's she gonna do with the loan? How's her business doing? But I would still load it onto that card. Today that disbursement happens on Zoom. So we are able to talk about renewing that loan. She doesn't have to come to the branch. She talks about her business, her opportunity, how she utilized her last loan, what she's going to do with her next loan. And in 30 seconds, the new loan amount is dispersed onto the card because we built the rails and it took us 2 years to do that. So we have a disbursement card, or 37% of our members now, the loan is dispersed directly to their bank account. And for the other 63%, it's a Gameen card, but we don't have checks. The disbursements are efficient for them. And particularly in the pandemic, they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to go outside, cash the check, deposit it. It's completely electronically done.
Thank you.
The meetings, as I just mentioned, are all virtual. So we have replaced the meeting at the center, which goes on exactly at the same time with the same attendance requirements. That happens virtually. And then very importantly, on the repayment side, we have 3 channel options, but everybody can repay Gameen America in a variety of ways that is completely digital. They do not have to see their loan officers.
Thank you, Andrea. Now, I would like to ask our discussants some questions related to their experiences from different types of businesses. For example, Saskia is here. Saskia, could you please share with us your experiences from different social businesses that you are doing in different countries? And could you please relate these experiences with the experience that we have from Gameen America, what have been mentioned by Andrea just now?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Jahangir, and hi, Professor Yunus, and everyone else who I haven't seen yet. Great to see you. So first of all, I want to start off with saying I'm a giant fan of Gameen Americas, and I'm so impressed by what you've built there. Andrea, I was in New York in 2009, right after Gameen America was launched. So very much at the beginning, and already there, I was very impressed by what it has been, what you guys were up to in the US and proving the model of Gameen Bank there. But of course, now almost 10 years later, or more than 10 years later, it's just fantastic to see what an incredible impact Gameen America has had, and that you guys have been lending out over $1.7 billion. You know, that's not a cute little charity on the side anymore. That's a massive social business. And I find that very impressive. So Jahangir, just maybe coming to give a little bit of context what we at Yunus Social Business work on. So basically we, together with Professor Yunus, I was one of the co-founders of Yunus Social Business about now almost 10 years ago also. And we have been trying to replicate or bring the successful models of social business from Bangladesh to other countries. Our focus is not on microfinance though. So I'm just a fan on the microfinance side, but we focus on other impacts than the impact of access to finance. So we help people have access to good healthcare, to education, or also to create income or entrepreneurial opportunities for people. But we're not talking about, let's say, the small loans. We actually give larger loans of, let's say, between $100,000 and $500,000 to social business entrepreneurs who in turn, solve problems of the poor. So let's say, if you can imagine the microfinance layer where you give to one individual woman a loan so she can buy a chicken or she can start her hair salon in the US, etc. Then on top, there would be the social businesses, which are slightly larger companies, but that still serve that same population. So that's kind of the logic of how microfinance and social business build on each other. And that's why actually microfinance in every country that we've been working in so far, and we work in East Africa, Latin America, and India, we've seen that microfinance has been the infrastructure for everything. And then you can have additional services for the poor on top, like healthcare, education, etc., or other job creation opportunities. But microfinance, so access to that credit, is the basis of everything. So to make a concrete example, so for example, we have a cook stove business in Kenya. And those are simple, improved cook stoves. I know Gameen has that in Bangladesh as well. The way that the people are able to finance these cook stoves is again via microcredit. So microcredit is a very important tool that is also a very important basis to be able to set social business on top. And these two tools that are both babies of Professor Yunus work together very well.
Saskia, just a quick question. How many countries are you operating in at this moment?
We're operating in 7 countries, so 3 regions, I would call them, in Latin America, East Africa, and in India. Those are the main regions, but it's across 7 countries right now.
Yeah, it's really good to know that you are also doing the same thing. You know, the main objective is to alleviate poverty and help poor people, empower women.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for sharing your experience. Now, I'd like to ask our another discussant. Mr. Abdul Hai Khan is the Managing Director of Gameen Trust. He has got extensive experiences from Gameen replications in different countries. Mr. Khan, could you please share with us your experiences from different replications of Gameen Bank in different countries? Especially, I would like to know your experience from Yemen and Kosovo, these 2 countries. Mr. Khan? Mr. Abdul Hai Khan, are you there? Most probably we have lost him. Then
okay.
I'd like to, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
And thank you, Honorable Professor Yunus, dear participants and colleagues. It's very interesting. Basically, if we want to share the experiences of Kosovo and Yemen, it's very interesting and also exciting. First of all, I'd like to say about Kosovo. You know, when we started microcredit program in Kosovo, it was just post-conflict country. Just conflict was over. And when our team was there, no road communication, there is no electricity, there is no infrastructure, there is a landmine blasting, On that situation, Gameen team started to implement this microcredit program in Kosovo. And when initially we tried to motivate the people in the villages, in the country. Every single woman said, what we will doing with the money? We don't know what we will do, how we will form the group, like this. Then we try to motivate them about the Gameen methodology and give some examples about Gameen Bank and our other replication programs. And finally, we have started to form one group in one villages. Now we have we reach more than 20,000 clients. Active client is near about 5,000. We have 4 branches in 4 regions. And those who started with only 600 Deutsche Mark, just after Kosovo, where their currency was Deutsche Mark. Now that lady took 25,000 euro, and she started with a small grocery shop. Now she has a big supermarket. She create a lot of employment opportunity for others also. And our program is pro-poor program. We run this program following the principle of social business. That's because we are not taking any profit, or we are not giving any profit to anybody else. Profit will be reinvested for the expansion of the program. So that is very interesting. Now, and if you will go to the center meeting, still they are holding the physical meeting, but I am sharing the experience of Gameen Ambika with our CEO of Kosovo. We are trying to bring this digitalization on there in Kosovo, if possible. Infrastructure will allow us, but attendance is still 100%. Before pandemic, repayment rate was 100%. After pandemic, it is just 2% reduced the repayment rate, but going to be rebuilt slowly. And most of the borrowers have a huge impact in their lives, in their income generating activities. They send their children to the school, even in the universities. They are very much affordable for their health care and other social issues also.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Khan.
Yemen is very interesting story. When we went to Yemen for conducting the feasibility study, everybody said, you will never be successful in Yemen. It's impossible. And we also found we have to start from Zobra 44 years back, when Yunus started in Zobra, same condition. And we never met. I was the member of that feasibility study group. I never met any single woman. That's because their society does not permit us. But now we are happy to inform you that they have formed 34 women group.
Thank you.
More than 200 members, and all of them are taking loans, utilize the loans, and now started their business.
So, Mr. Khan, thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Ramon Serros. He's from Negros Women for Tomorrow Foundation. Is one of the largest MFI in the Philippines, and I had an opportunity to visit this MFI as well while I was in the Philippines at the Asian Development Bank. So, Mr. Serros, could you please share with us your experiences from your organization?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share with you the experience of Negros women and hearing about the success of Gameen America from Andrea. The formula is essentially the same from Professor Yunus. It's really joint liability, individual lending. But what's notable, I guess, from our, which is also the experience of everybody, is really last several decades, is the shift from microcredit to microfinance. it all started with just loans, just credit. And now it's microfinance, and it's not just credit, it's the whole package now. You know, it even involves non-financial services, it involves insurance and all that stuff. And it's that evolution, or that shift, is because uh, we all understand, or we continue to understand the needs of the clients and their families. And that's basically, I guess, the strength of this, of what we all do, because the needs of the clients and their families really shift over time. And when we need to understand that and really deliver on that, so that the clients see that there is a purpose. I guess that's where, when the clients understand that there is a purpose to what we do, then they value it. And that's where, that's when we become not just valuable, but that's where they really take care of it, and they see the impact in their lives and that of their families. And when they see that impact, it's just, uh, it's amazing what this thing can do.
Thank you very much. Okay, so by the way, I would like to mention too that I have a formal academic paper on your organization. While I was in the Philippines, I wrote a paper on Negros Women's for Tomorrow Foundation, and it's published in an academic journal.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
So it was a great thing to see and visit your organization and your microcredit programs. So now I would like to ask our friend Mr. Suresh Krishna. He's from India. Mr. Krishna, could you please share with us your experiences from India, microfinance institutions? How do these institutions work, as well as what are the impact that you can see from the microfinance institutions in India? Mr. Suresh?
Yeah, thanks, Professor Jahangir, and thanks, Professor Yunus, for giving me this opportunity to be with you all together again with the Yunus family. It's always so good to be with you all. And Andrea, it's so good to hear from you again. Gameen America is like a dream for all of us, because we were, like you mentioned, actually, we in the India or developing countries thought, why do we need microcredit in US? They're such a rich country. But I think the Gameen America has proved that, I think microfinance works everywhere, irrespective of which country, whether rich or poor, everybody needs money. There are always people who are excluded by the formal financial system. So I think that inclusion work is important, and it is required in everywhere. Just to answer Professor Jahangir's questions, in India, it was one of the early replicators of Gameen Bank. I think if I remember, I think in India, I think we started way back in early 90s. I think there are many pioneers in India who started off microfinance, who learning from Gameen Bank and Professor Yunus, Mr. Mahajan, Mr. Oday, and a lot of people who are there. I don't want to name them, but I think we were also one of the early starters of microcredit in India. Yes, we all called it microcredit. I think, like Raymond said, microfinance is a term which came in later for us, because we were all doing microcredit. In India, I think there are various models people have tested or modified to suit the local conditions. India also has a large government-driven program called the Indian Self-Help Group Movement, which actually where the NGOs form the women self-help groups, and then they credit link to the banks. But the Gameen model is more popular in India too, because it works on sustainable model, and also it has lesser dependency on the grants as compared to the SHG model. So in India, there are multiple institutional structures too. One is the NGO model, where NGOs provide credit. Otherwise, there are microfinance institutions. We have what is called NBFC MFIs now. There is separate regulation for NBFC MFIs. So there are special category financial institutions. And we have what is called small finance banks, which also provide microcredit. And we have the banks, the regular commercial banks also provide microcredit. Most of these microcredit programs, or microfinance, what we call it, they all use the group model itself to actually lend. And all the microfinance models are actually lending to women only. So India would be the largest women microcredit program across the world. Because
Mr. Krishna, thank you. I'll come back to you later on, after discussing the main topic of our today's discussion, that the impacts of Gameen America. So, Andrea, could you please share with the report that you have recently been published that on the impacts of Gameen America's microcredit program on the well-being of the borrowers? So could you please share with the results from your study?
Sure, thanks. So Gameen America is the only US microfinance organization to have had and undergone a randomized controlled trial methodology for independent research on the impact of microfinance on American entrepreneurs, whether or not there is a definitive impact on poverty alleviation. We began this study many years ago. We have just published an 18-month report, and the final report will come out in 18 months from now. But it was obviously a big and bold decision, because undergoing a randomized control trial, which means certain people will be rejected from the program. We formed the groups. They were very good entrepreneur candidates, and yet they were told they would be the control group, not getting the Gameen loan. And then we had an equal number, thousands of those who did get the Gameen loan. So we worked hard to make sure that there was complete, efficacy and independence in the study. And I'm really proud to say that the results are very, very positive in terms of statistical proof that there are significant differences in the Gameen program versus the control. Number one is on material hardship, which is a big indicator of poverty alleviation. So there's a very big delta between the Gameen members and those who did not get the Gameen loan in terms of whether they could pay their health bills, their medical bills, buy a prescription drug, pay their rent, pay their utilities. So again, a statistically significant improvement for those who participated in Gameen America. Savings, there's a over $800 difference, US difference, in the savings accounts of those who participate in Gameen America versus those who don't. Very, very important. In the United States, an $800 savings differential yields a 7 times chance difference that your child will go on to ongoing university. It's not that $800 can get you to university, but the discipline of that savings, of putting something away every week or every month, behaviorally has made the big difference in terms of asset building in America. And the third factor is that for the US entrepreneur and or individual, a credit score is very important. So Gameen America reports a credit score, and the average credit score is 20% higher. And in fact, 20% of the Gameen America members have a prime credit score, which means, some of the highest credit scores that you can achieve over 26 weeks because of the repayment discipline. So I think the study proves that the methodology of Gameen America, the social capital and the behavior disciplines that we teach every week, along with the absolute changes in income, material hardship, savings, and credit, really point to the fact that the program itself is a very positive poverty alleviator. I think this comes on the heels of a lot of skepticism and question about microfinance randomized control trials that have been done in other countries. So some of them were not definitive in proving that microfinance works. But I think you've got perfect methodology by the research company. And we have, none of these loans are used for consumer loans. I mean, I think one of the issues in some of the other studies are that somebody got a business loan and used it to go on a vacation or buy a television, and therefore they just burden themselves with further debt. So it's important to clarify that Gameen America has a very tight discipline about loan utilization. These loans have to be used for business purposes. And when you combine that with the world-class methodology of the research firm, I think we have really one of the most powerful pieces of research on the impact of the Gameen program in America.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. But the thing, I've looked at your report, and I couldn't be able to see the full report because of that, and I didn't have to, but I had a very quick look. But the thing that I have in mind is that since this is sponsored by this report, in the academia, actually, this report is not going to be accepted. So I would rather look to have like an independent evaluation. I agree that your results are excellent, and I'm sure, and if an independent study is done, they are going to get the same results. And when this independent study will be done, it will get published in a quality journal, I'm sure, and the whole world is going to know about your impacts. So until unless an independent study is done, actually it's difficult to tell everybody that these are the impacts. So, but still, this report is going to help us to understand how
it is an independent study, in the sense that, again, we did not conduct it. We at Gameen America. It's been conducted by the company called MDRC. They are an independent research company that studies poverty alleviation. I think it was courageous in the sense that we had no idea what the results would say. Could have said there was no impact or negative impact. And so in that sense, it is the only independent randomized controlled trial in the United States. So I want to emphasize that.
Okay, actually, I wanted to mean that independent study by some academicians with the objective writing a paper to get published in a journal. This is what I meant, actually. Thank you very much. So I would like to go back to our discussion very quickly in 1 minute for each of our discussion. Could you please share your experiences or whether you want to make any comments on the impacts that Andrea has mentioned? Mr. Khan, do you like to make any comments on it?
Yes, I have some comments.
Very quickly, 1 minute, please. You
Very
get.
quickly, just I have my own observations. I want to just share with the audience, basically. It's not about the report. As because I have visited many times in the branches. So, and I have found in Jackson Heights, I have found one lady in 2008, she took only $1,000 to start a street business, peddling on the road. And in 2015, she got $10,000. Now she rented a shop and create full employment for others women to work her shop. That is my observation. And in the Bronx, I have found another lady. She took $1,000 to buy a washing machine to start a laundry shop. Now she has 25 washing machine plant, and it's a big laundry shop, and more than 10 women work their shop. I have visited that one. So that is the real impact of Gameen America. And if you, as because we are working, we have more than 153 partners in 42 countries. Same, if you go everywhere, there is thousands of thousands.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Thank you, Mr. Khan.
You are found.
Mr. Krishna, do you like to make any comments?
Everyone really wants to do this.
Yes, Professor Jahangir. I think one major comment I would like to make to actually add to what Andrea said. During this COVID in India, from March onwards, I think there was a moratorium given. That means the entire loans or borrowers need not repay during this period. But that moratorium got ended in August, end of August. So in September onwards, everybody had to pay. During that period, by and large, most of the repayment rates were maybe 5%, 10% by the microfinance borrowers also. What is notable here is in September and October now, most of these women borrowers have come back to more than 85% on-time repayment. That actually demonstrates the value which they are actually attaching to the microfinance loans which has been provided to them. I think that it also proves that how beneficial the microfinance loans are for them. I'll stop.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Serios, do you have any comments? Would you like to share with us any of your comments?
Yeah, I think the same thing with Suresh and Andrea. The discipline, when you target the right clients, which are really the poor or the poorest for that matter, the discipline is built in. It's the same thing for us here in the Philippines. There was a period when throughout this pandemic that they didn't have to pay the loans. But what is astonishing is that their resilience in terms of their savings was slightly untouched. Very few really withdrew from their savings. That is because of the discipline that we and they have built into the system, because they are really so focused in terms of asset building, and that in effect shows the resilience of the poor and their families in keeping in mind the improvement of their lives. Yeah.
Thank you. Saskia, would you like to make any comments?
I think the only thing, I mean, obviously, I find this again fantastic to see how this discipline actually continues also throughout a crisis like this. So that's wonderful to hear. I also there can only share our experience from Yunus Social Business now during how this has affected our entrepreneurs and again, in turn, their clients. And we work in a variety of different countries, but in general, we've actually seen that almost a half of our portfolio has been significantly impacted by the COVID crisis. And so we also gave debt moratoria for 6 months, in some cases 9 months. But now we are also seeing that the first are again starting to repay their loans, and also that clients are obviously starting to pick up their work again because they have no other chance. They need to continue because that's what their life depends on. So I think I guess the whole point about loans and the discipline that brings in, be it now on the individual level or be it also on the level of a larger business, like it is the case in our case, I think is essential. And yeah, but also during the pandemic, of course, you do need to change and adapt to the actual needs.
Thank you, Saskia.
Can I just add one thing that
please, very quickly.
We'll echo two thoughts. One, just like Suresh said, I mean, in Gameen America, since August of this year, August and September, we gave out $100 million post the post the cities opening up again. So these were recovery loans for COVID relief, and our members have paid them back at 99.6%. So again, no different. I mean, this is in the middle of the crisis. They're quite inspirational. I think to Saskia's point, they have to go back to work. They are resilient. The discipline is still there. And so it's nearly 100%, which is pre-COVID repayment rates on the last $100 million that we've given out. The only thing that I didn't mention in my remarks, which is important, it ties it back into everything that Saskia and everybody is doing, is that, to me, microfinance is the ultimate social business. I mean, Gameen America, in the first quarter of 2020, right before COVID hit 102% total all-in sustainability. So I think we're the only microcredit organization in the United States that fully is self-sustaining. And when people ask, why have you given out 1.7, why is it the largest and fastest growing? It's because it's a social business, because the revenues are paying for the operating costs, and that happens in every branch after about 4 years. We hit.
Thank you, Andrea. We are running out of time because we have got next session in which Professor Yunus is going to give the closing remarks. So before closing this session, I would like to request Professor Yunus to give some comments on the report that you have published, as well as to give some suggestion how to improve the efficacy of microfinance in terms of alleviating poverty in the future. Professor Yunus, sir.
Well, thank you. I'll be brief on the report, particularly. It's I was resistant about this study. I was vehemently opposed to this study. It is against our will. This was imposed on us on the RMDC report. It came from the donor side. They would not give any money to Gameen America unless they have studied it and find out what this is all about. I was against it because I was not. I was sure that the randomized control is not the right kind of methodology for this kind of program, and they will come up with a crazy outcome of that. So finally, they yielded, that they allowed this to happen. It was the desire of the donor who funded this to an independent research institution to do that. So I made up my mind. I said they will come with a negative report, And I repeated what I always say, that we have gone through many negative studies on us. I said, it doesn't matter who says what, how powerful the researchers are. What I see, I see. What I feel, I feel. They will not change anything. If they say that this is the worst kind of projects you can get, I'll still keep saying that it's the best you can get. This is the best ever possible for them. So I said, if they see something wrong, it's because their glasses are wrong. They're seeing things, their eyes are wrong. Reality is not wrong. So I said, you have to change your policy. You have to change your structure of the research rather than tell us what to do differently, why we're so bad about it. So I always took that position that because I'm convinced that it works for people, it helps people. So people coming with the negative things, I just ignored it, that this is their fault, not our fault. And I see, particularly I see they have any message that I can accept. It's just some good ideas too. So I would do that. So I was prepared for that. Even in this case, RMDC came out, if it did come out with the negative report, that would not change a bit about what I feel about microcredit, what I feel about about the financial system for the poor people. It happened that they said positive things. Next research, I'm not sure. They will come up with another crazy idea. So they will keep on changing their thing. We'll not change our thing. We'll continue to do that. So this is in that spirit, I took that. That's it. And I didn't like the idea that I choose borrowers, let them form groups, and suddenly I announce that we will not give you any money because you are under study. So I said, that's a very cruel thing to do for people they're playing around with their people's lives. They want to have the money, and you promise them to have the money. That's why they formed the group. It was not an easy thing to form a group. And suddenly you say, no, you're not going to get the money. So they could rebel, they could do anything because you kind of disappointed them heavily for that. So that methodology I didn't like at all. Anyway, this is how it began. For Gameen America, it's a fantastic thing that they have done. It's despite RMDC. RMDC is good, bad, that people like the study report, let them look at them. But the fact what has been happening is amazing. It's not, Gameen America is not the first one in the rich country that happened, that we are celebrating what Andrea has done. She deserves that all our praise for her work. But this is not the first one that we ever did in a rich country. It's actually, we have a long history of working in a microcredit, Gameen style microcredit in rich country. UK is one who started Gameen style microcredit program, didn't go very far. The big way that was done was France, Maria Novak ID. And it was almost spread in a nationwide. But they deviated from the ideas, so they got compromised with the rules and regulations, and they keep explaining that, well, French law doesn't allow this, French law doesn't allow this. So it never excited me because it deviated from the principles that we followed. Another one which is very exciting for me was Lofoten Islands in Norway, up in the north, almost near the northern pole. They did the fantastic thing. They copied it very well. The girl who started it, she lived in Bangladesh, in the village. She came to know about Gameen Bank because she lived in the village where the Gameen Bank was working. So she learned from the bottom. She didn't learn from us, not from the headquarters of Gameen Bank or anything. And when she went back, she had a job working in this Lofoten Island, involving the Lofoten Island. She saw the difficulties of the women there. It's a rich country, but the women have lots of difficulties in their life. So she thought Gameen is the answer. She did that, and she did very fantastic work for that. But it's a small one. It's not. But when the beauty of Gameen America, it has answered every single question any regulator, any banker, any lawyer could ask them. It's not easy to work in the United States. I can guarantee you that. They have so many rules, so many regulators, so many issues. You hardly can move anything. And Andrea has to answer every single person. Everybody is happy with how she does it. And it's not that she defied things. I usually defy things. I ignore it. Forget it. This is the way we do it. She has not defied it. She has satisfied them, convinced them, and followed the regulatory principles and everything else. And then she made it a sustainable right from the beginning. Now she can expand it throughout the whole country in the United States. It doesn't matter because each one is independent, each one is sustainable and so on. It's a question of money. She raises a big question now. Why isn't there the whole country? What's wrong? If people need the money, people pay back the money, it's a sustainable, why don't you do it? And that raises a big question. I'm sure United States someday has to answer that question, opening it up so that all the rules and regulations which restricts them to take deposit. The key factor is the deposit taking. If Gameen America could take deposit, sky's the limit. They could go anywhere they want. It could be as global as you want within the United States. The money is not in short supply in the United States. Simply that's not available for the poor people. And Gameen America has found a way how to connect this finance to the poor people, who are women particularly. So she is a class by herself. Andrea has done something unique. It's put the whole microcredit scene in a completely different pedestal. So we will be learning a lot from her. And the handling of pandemic was an amazing way it was done. I think some 50 women died during the pandemic because of the coronavirus. Andrea, how many died?
52 now.
52 now. 52 women died during the coronavirus. How many suffered? There's a larger number. And this is the situation she is working with. It's not just something is happening somewhere else and we are doing our thing. It's in the family. And the Gameen has a program for them, how to help them, how to take care of their funeral, how to all those. She made all those arrangements. This is not that, okay, she died, what can we do? Let's move on. It's not like that. It's just a family member who died. So she expressed all the human quality that you would like to have in an organization, expressing them, everybody feeling the pain of having those people leaving them in the middle of this pandemic. And all these women who died, 52 now, mostly concentrated in a certain area, like in in New York particularly. This is where the concentration is. So it's not an easy thing to handle that. And people are dying at the same time you're running the program. You didn't stop the program. In the program, people feel safer than that. So she has lots of things to report. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to do that. So I'm very happy to participate in this. Is this the concluding session or there's something else coming up?
Another concluding session. No, you will have another concluding session at the end of this one. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations to India. Fantastic work you have done. And it's always wonderful to meet the friends who have been working together with Suresh, with Raymond, and everybody else who with the Gameen program, the 70s, 80s, 90s, they joined in. We used to have a microcredit summit. Now that has been discontinued. That would be a great union of all the friends together. Maybe a social business academia conference will have this reinstated. That's a microcredit conference again. But this time I'll emphasize, and I'll stop here. This time I'll emphasize we should not be talking about all microcredit. We should be concentrating on social business microcredit program. Let's forget about the other part. Let them take care of themselves and whatever they can do. But let's focus on social business microcredit. That's the only way. In social business, it has to be a sustainable thing, and it has nothing to do with making money out of it. That's what I'm very happy Suresh has done that, and Raymond has done that, and we are very happy to have them all together here. Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your nice, encouraging comments. Regarding the issue that you have raised regarding RCT, I would like to mention that some of the famous economists like Angus Deaton and Martin Rebellum, they don't even like RCT because RCT has got a moral problem that you have mentioned, that you are saying that, okay, a group of people are going to get credit and the other group is not going to get. It's a moral issue. And they have got some other fundamental limitations as well. So I wanted to actually mention these things, but we don't have enough time. Thank you very much. So I would like to conclude this session here because you have got another session immediately after this session. We are, probably our time limit has already finished. So thank you very much, Andrea, for joining us, and thanks for accepting our invitation. We are really delighted, that you are joined us and listening to you and learning a lot from you regarding Gameen America, regarding your methodology, your impacts. Thank you very much. I also would like to thank all our discussants for their wonderful comments, as well as sharing their experiences with us, and we have learned a lot from them as well. So hope to have you again in another session and listen to all of you again in detail with more time, because we had time limitation today. And thank you very much. And after this session, we have got the closing ceremony, and that means Professor Yunus is going to make closing remarks, and the session is going to be moderated by our one of my colleagues. So I would like to request my colleague Shihab Kadir to take over the session, and he's going to moderate the session. Thank you very much again. Thanks for joining the session. Shihab?
Thank you, Professor
No,
Jahangir.
no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay. So before actually we close this session, would like to have a group photo. Aziz, could you please take a group photo and of us?
Okay. Shep, Mr. Shep, can you turn off your camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I get some smiles here?
Okay, big smile.
Big smile. There we go. Big smile.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Shihab, could you please?
Yes, thank you, Professor Jahangir. Yeah, I'll keep it very brief because we are almost out of time. Well, it was a great 3 days of insightful discussions on social business in academia and the related fields with it. As you know, we had 3 plenary sessions, one on academic curriculum on social business. The other one was on program updates from YSBCs all around the world. And the one that concluded today, the impact of the microcredit program of Gameen America. And as we all saw, a myriad of topics were discussed, from the potential of eco-villages, the absorption capacity at the bottom of the pyramid, to portable health clinics during a pandemic. There were 2 sessions in the Spanish language as well. They were conducted by our co-hosts in Colombia, Universidad ICESI and Universidad Externado. You'll be happy to know that Yunus Center is working closely with these 2 esteemed universities to build capacities in social business in Colombia and the greater LATAM region. And we are doing this through scholarships, research grants, inducing workshops, and other training programs. This SBAC session was very special to us for this year, as it was the first one to be held virtually. We were worried about the technical difficulties, the time zone differences, but thankfully our support was phenomenal. Thousands of viewers joined our sessions from all over the world. And for that, I feel that this year our outreach was far more better than the other years behind us. But without further ado, I would like to invite our special guest, our Nobel laureate, Professor Mohammad Yunus, to give us the concluding remarks. Sir, if you could kindly start.
Okay, thank you. Now I understand the concluding session. Okay. Well, I'm very happy again as the Social Business Academia Conference went this year, and lots of people participated. It's a wonderful occasion. We were not sure how we could handle this on the Zoom, but it worked out very well. And this is a very important academia conference to bring all the academia together, to raise one very important issue that I have been trying to draw attention to, is the pandemic. So it's in the context of the pandemic, we're organizing this Social Business Academia Conference, drawing attention, what is next for us, what kind of world that we want to have after the pandemic is over, whenever it is over. And the pandemic is going on. But today is the time before the pandemic is over. We are prepared for the time that it will bring us to see what kind of world we will have in 2021. It's around the corner. 2021 is coming. It's a beginning. The step to take is right now. So I thought this would be a good brainstorming session for all of us, shake us all up, because we have no time to spare for this. We have to be cautious and active right now. We have been accusing this present system as a system which created a massive problem for all human beings. I'm trying to draw attention to the fact that the human beings is the most endangered species on this planet right now. We are not talking about it. We are not speaking about it, taking any action about it. But we carry on as if nothing is happening. I try to bring the information from the scientists, the environmental scientists, which gave us very little time. Either it's 20 years or 30 years, and that's the end. We are at the point of no return. So this is the time period we have to reshape the whole world so that we can move away from the direction that we are going. We are not only a species which is endangered, we are also endangering. We are the species we are as a human being is a self-destructive species. We are destroying ourselves. We are not endangered by somebody else. We have endangered ourselves. So how to get out of that mode of self-destruction? So I'm focusing on the self-destruction. I said, everything we're doing, we are bringing the day closer and closer, faster and faster. And that's not what we should do. And this is what the 3-0 issue that I've been raising, the global warming and extreme wealth concentration and artificial intelligence. How to turn it around, make it zero net carbon emission, zero net concentration of wealth, and zero unemployment. And my insistence is it can be done. That's why this social business academia conference becomes so important for me, because this is where all the academics are around getting involved. I'm very happy that there are 87 YSBCs now. The number is not the important thing, that the fact that they're taking more and more interest and how to enlarge that interest coverage so that we prepare our young generation to start the process so that we can turn around the whole thing, make it happen. We don't have much time. So whatever we have to do in maybe within a decade or so. So we have a time period of a decade from 2020 to 2030. And 2021 is coming in a drastically different way because we are just emerging from a massive problem of pandemic. And that massive problem could be our advantage because it wakens us up. Otherwise, we are sleeping. I keep reminding that our house is burning, but we are having fun. We are having a party going on inside. And that's a mismatch, that we are not recognizing the reality of the situation. So this 2020 SBAC will be a realization process that we are not aware of the house burning, and we must stop the fire and build a beautiful house for us. And we are capable of doing that. This is the direction that we have to go. So this is the one that we have to prepare. This SBAC is the preparation for 2021, so that from 1st of January, we know what exactly we will be doing from then on. We don't have to wait for 1st of January. We can do it right now, but we cannot fail on 1st of January. Continue the 2020 into 2021. We shouldn't. This is the preparation part of it. What we should be doing, that's up to us to decide. And that's where the social business comes in. That's where the entrepreneurship comes in. We want to build entrepreneurship into the firmly into the central stage of the entire thing. This is the challenge that we want to face. And we are discussing microcredit because wherever you go, we come back to that same issue again and again and again. And I've been writing about it. They said the informal sector that we talk about, this is actually micro-entrepreneurial sector. If you recognize it, micro-entrepreneurial sector, you need a whole financing system for that. We don't have to sacrifice them to the loan sharks with the usury rates and all the corruption, all the bad things that happen into that. We can create a beautiful financial system, but it has to be social business financial system. So I was talking about social business, micro-entrepreneur banks everywhere, because we have to get to those people. Then they are entrepreneurs. Don't forget, then informal sector people are entrepreneurial people. That's how they survive. So micro-entrepreneur, the microcredit comes back again. That people say, oh, it cannot be done. I say, we have been doing it. We've done it, and India takes it to the top. It can be done anywhere, under any circumstances, with all the adversities and so on. You can do that, and it works as good as anywhere else, even better. So that's a challenge. That's what the India's presence was very important for us, to show that it is not only a talk, a sweet one to kind of placate our guilty feeling. We have to do it in a concrete way. So microfinance comes not only in that social business microfinance banks, also microfinance has a new dimension emerging. That's also something that we should be adding into this, is the entrepreneurial finance for the people. That I was saying that all the migrant workers in India and all the migrant workers in Bangladesh, they're going back. What do they do going back there? They are entrepreneurs. That's what they were doing on the streets of big cities in India and Bangladesh. They can go back and do whatever they are, provided the financing part is settled there. You can do that. That's where the venture capital comes in. That's where our experience with the venture capital, the entrepreneur program for the youth, young entrepreneur, that can be extended to any age group. We are concentrating on the young people because we took the challenge from the Gameen families. One generation is gone. The next generation, what happens? So next generation are sent to school, they have education, but they're looking for jobs. So forget about jobs. We are not job seekers. We are job creators. We are entrepreneurs. So we created that venture capital fund. So that is the future, venture capital fund. Now we become investors in your program as a partner. We become partner in microcredit. We didn't become partner. We are the lender. But here we are saying that this is probably, it can have a better future. We are not dismissing the lending part, but the core of this program would be partnership and investments and so on. So we create social business venture capital fund. And Bangladesh is working very well, even despite the pandemic. What the India has said about pandemic in United States, we have the same experience, and Suresh has the same experience in India. They are still strong. No matter what we say on the surface, reporting that it is terrible, their life will be ruined, they are still holding on. They're very tenacious. They want to make sure they're successful. They don't want to lose this facility. So microcredit venture capital is still functioning. And I didn't get time to mention about the social business venture capital program running in Kosovo. Not only in Bangladesh, he's running in Kosovo. He's starting in Yemen. So these are venture capital application of that. So this is an emerging thing. Unless we can build this thing in a concrete way, I think we have a very difficult life ahead of us. We have to fix the financial system completely. This is our challenge. So this Social Business Academia Conference, very helpful to bring this up. And how to make this action programs. This is an issue that I raised, and I want to repeat it here. Action program, also the future of this direction that we want to take. We need funding. We didn't have the finance for the YSBCs is a big problem. Neither university wants to give money, nor donors want to give money, or any investors want to invest in that. So we said, why don't we create our own system? We create a whole system where we negotiate with the donor countries, like donor agencies, like DFID, like German GIZ, and also with the European donor agency, negotiate. These are the action programs we will be taking, turning unemployed or turning the youth into entrepreneur. This is, you create a venture capital fund, and we demonstrate it. Unless you demonstrate it, it will be never be done. So you give us the action research fund, we do that. And in that, we are saying that maybe it will be a joint venture between European YSBC with an Indian YSBC, another is Latin American YSBC, so that they can all jointly do that, so that their connection with the donor country feels that, yes, our universities are also involved. So we have all the more reason to finance it. So we want to build that up. I need your assistance to how to organize that with the USAID, with the DFID, with the French agency for development, and so on, and Japanese agency. We have to negotiate, because everybody will be looking for solutions, because we have such a mess of problems. Quietly, they're looking for it, they don't see it. So we can show that, yes, here is a solution. You are not wasting this money. This is money going into building of a sustainable system, which makes it happen. So we have all the research grant coming from those sources and how to mobilize that funding process. So we will focus on this particular aspect of it from the discussion that I had during this Social Business Academia conference, that without that funding, it's very difficult to proceed and so on. And the second part we're trying to put into Academia conference is the use of the Zoom methodology, because it's now we understood the power of the virtual meetings. So we can continuously have virtual meetings. We can have lectures and virtual lectures addressing the students in different campuses at the same time. It doesn't have to be campus by campus. We can have one lecture for everybody. So we can organize those lectures, make it happen. We already introduced this lecture series. You are familiar with that. And I'm very happy Andrea participated in that. A very impactful discussion that we had in that. So many more will be coming next week, or next lecture will be with Emmanuel Faber from Danone. He's a very difficult person to get these days. He's so busy with his business, but he agreed to give this speech because he's a dedicated person for social business, and he's transforming his Danone entirely as a business into social business type of business where there's a limit up to which they can make the profit. They're not limitless profit, so they will and make all the restrictions that social restrictions on the business itself. So anyway, so you'll be the speaker next one, so we'll be very excited. So this is one, and there'll be Spanish series of lectures. There'll be separate series. There'll be Japanese series of lectures. There'll be separate. So this is another idea that we brought out during this SBAC. I'm very happy that we could organize ourselves to this. And behind this, of course, Lamia is the one who was behind the whole organization part and made it very beautiful. We wish to thank her for organizing this. And I don't see her here today. I don't know whether she is listening. And also Zinat. Oh, you're there. Okay, good. Zinat has been the key person for doing that. And of course, Shihab and Urmi and Sadia and
Aziz.
Aziz is the one who organized the whole technology part of it. So if you have anybody to blame, he's the one. So, and he did a wonderful job. He's very quietly doing it along with him. Sadia is behind him. So she did a wonderful job. It's a small group of people, but very dedicated group of people. Let's give a big applause for them. We give you a virtual applause for you, all of you, for making that happen. And Shihab is already here. So we have a good team. Let's get ready for this. We don't have to limit ourselves to once a year Social Business Academia conference. We can have another mid-year conference on a specific subject and more intensively done and so on, if you wish to do that. So we had a very good experience for this, and we would be very grateful to all of you to participate. It inspires us, all of us, seeing each other and making things happen. So I congratulate you all for the successes that you have made, and express my thanks to you for participating. And it's good to see you, good to see you individually, to get inspired by your presence and see what is coming for us in 2021 and beyond. Let's get ready for it. We should not take it as a defeat that we finally really get extinct as an endangered species. We don't want to be endangered species. We want to be the species which transforms this world. That's what we have to transform ourselves to transform the world. And with this, I conclude my presentation. And also, this will be the end of probably of the Academia conference. Thank you all, and good night.
Thank you.
Shihab, you want to take it over?
Yes, sir.
Are you listening? Okay.
Thank you. Yes, yes, sir. I am listening. Well, that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf we are calling the Social Business Academia Conference 2020. We thank our hosts, our co-hosts, University and University of Columbia, our nation's for business grants. A vote of thanks goes out to all the YSBCs globally and the panel of judges who vetted all the research papers all along, and to Yunus Center, including Ms. Lamia Morshed, Professor Jahangir for the tireless effort. And last but not the least, our sincere gratitude goes again to Professor Muhammad Yunus for his vision and guidance in everything that we do. Everyone, depending on where you are, and hope to see you next.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Saskia. Good to see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See you in 2021.
Yes.
No, much earlier than that. We don't have to wait. Oh, yes. Not November of 21. Anytime in between, of course. Yes, of course. 21 is.
No, I'm talking about the next academia conference. Yeah.
Absolutely, I know. We don't have to wait until then. Yeah, we can have more. Anyway, thank you. It's wonderful to see you all. Let's get together and make it happen. Thank you. Lots of work to do. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, India. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. Okay.
Thank you, Saskia. Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Good night,
Good night.
everybody. Thank you.